We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people, part of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples.
Welcome to African-Australian Conversations. This is a podcast that will aim to flip the negative narrative that we usually hear about African-Australians, particularly our youth in the media, about how they're gangs, they don't work, and as a community, we don't want to assimilate. Now, Africans like me have migrated from different parts of Africa. We came here as students. Some came as workers, skilled workers. Some came as refugees. We've also had our own children, so we have our own African-Australian generation going into the future, and this will continue. We do make a major contribution to multicultural society. Unfortunately, this contribution is masked by the negativity that is portrayed of us in the media. So the focus of this podcast is to bring in my fellow African Australians for them to tell in their own stories their journeys to Australia, their experiences, what they've achieved, what they are achieving, and will contribute to achieve to Australian society. Hopefully through this, we'll be able to educate our fellow Australians for them to accept us as part of multicultural Australia, because we're here. As I said, we've made contributions, we are making contributions, and we will contribute to make contributions. And we want to be part of this beautiful multicultural Australian society.
Everybody, do what you're doing. Smile will bring a sunshine day. Everybody, do what you're doing. Smile will bring a sunshine day.
Hey, Tariro, welcome.
Thank you.
To the first recording of African-Australian Conversations.
I feel very honored to be the first, and thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
How do you describe yourself?
I describe myself as a multi-hyphenate. What that means is multi-disciplinary, and I guess in a even more kind of African context, I would say I'm like a griot, so, a storyteller. And storyteller in that sense actually means a messenger to spread messages about spirituality, about politics, about society, about things not being said, and celebrating culture.
Tell us about how you came to Australia.
How I came to Australia? Well, I was 5 years old.
Yes.
So I came via my parents.
Okay.
So my dad was already here. He was already here in the late 80s. He was finishing his PhD at Monash. And then me, my brother, and my sisters, we came with my mother in 1990 from Zimbabwe.
From Zimbabwe. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful, because in the early 80s, I was a lecturer in Zimbabwe at University of Zimbabwe. Yeah, so I know Zimbabwe very well. In fact, those days were some of the best times in my life. Now, so what do you do in Australia?
So I am an actor. So I perform on stage, on screen. I also do voiceover work, so I'm a voiceover artist. I've done voiceover stuff for BMW, for Thomas the Tank Engine, which was very fun. I also work at CoHealth as a public service provider, and I'm on the health promotion team on their art program, ArtsGen.
many Australians may not know about people like you and the contribution you make to multicultural Australia. So please tell us about how you believe you have contributed, you are contributing, and you will continue to contribute to this generous country that has welcomed all of us here.
I contribute to Australia because I am. That's a very, so the concept of Ubuntu, or what we call in Zimbabwe, in Shona, we call Unu, which is to be a human being is to be a kind person. So I contribute because I embody those principles, because that is my cultural framework. And my philosophical framework, and what I was brought up was to respect people because we're human beings, and not just people, but to respect land, to respect sky, to respect waterways. So first and foremost, I guess I acknowledge the First Nations peoples. Also, how I think the way that they are, and I think they're the longest continuous culture, so 80,000 plus years. And so I think actually the way they are and their cosmology and their epistemology and the way they see the world is very similar to African Indigenous frameworks as well. So yeah, I contribute because of the values that my parents raised me on, and also because I know where I come from. So that's the first thing.
Yes.
And then I've always, since I was little, I think also those principles of providing service and being impactful has been principles that I definitely have valued. And so ever since I was even in high school, I was volunteering at soup kitchens, and I recognized the importance of being of service. Good. And and then when I was 18, I took a gap year. I went to Canada, and I lived in a community where I was a live-in assistant, living with people with disabilities, the disabled community. And so, that's been a really big part, I guess, of my contribution, I'd say, in Australia has been being of service. And I've always been artistic, I've always been creative, and so that's been the main portal.
As you'll be aware, most of the times, the only time, our fellow Australians hear about us, African gangs, mostly youth, right? We're takers, we don't assimilate. How do you think, as a community, as a new community, we can educate our fellow Australians about how we are participating effectively in society, making a contribution, and that, we believe in Australia? How do you think we can change this mindset?
I think firstly by acknowledging the systems that we're operating in, acknowledging that the police force, although they are adopting more inclusive practices of being aware of racial profiling, we still have a long way to go. When you look at the young people in the correctional facilities, it is disproportionately people of colour and First Nations peoples. So there is obviously practices that are still happening.
Yes.
And also, the media can be quite extreme in terms of the stories they tell, and it can look like the only young people who are playing out are young Africans, which is actually just not true. What we can do to really state that we're here and what we're doing is continue to tell our stories, continue to publicly celebrate the success stories through podcasts like this, independent media as well as mainstream media, to really tell our stories, is a really powerful, I think, way of the rest of Australia getting to know who we are and why we're here, and to humanize us.
Yeah, look, I I'm always optimistic. I don't like to be negative, although there are issues that are negative or portrayed as negative about us. I've been in Australia since 1978, and I know that for many new communities, when they come to Australia, there is a trajectory, and I think that as a new community, we will go through the same developmental path. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to my fellow Africans, I say to them, my approach is not always to, criticize our adopted country, but when we face challenges, to go to the authorities. For example, as a new community, one of the challenges for our youth is lack of employment opportunities. So my approach will be, okay, let's engage the government. Let's go to the government, say to the government, yes, as a community, we recognize that we've got a challenge. And the challenge stems from the fact that we're maturing, we're new, but we can't do it alone. We need your help to help address these and help our communities grow into some of the already matured communities like the Vietnamese communities, the Italian communities, the Greek communities, and the many communities that have come Australia ahead of us. What do you think of this approach?
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. I'm always for a top-down and a bottom-up approach, both. Yeah, definitely. I think there could be more resources to support, newer communities in Australia, for sure. And it's important to note that we represent maybe 0.06% or something like that in terms of as a demographic. So we're relatively small, and also, but the impact that we make is huge compared to the numbers that we are.
Well, particularly because Africans were colorful and Australians notice us in our colors.
Yes. I mean, we're coming from a diverse range of cultures that are really rich and vibrant.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot to share.
So we all want to keep the community we're part of safe.
Yes.
And my approach is, how do we do it constructively?
Yes.
How do we do it in a way that brings communities together? I don't like divisions in community. I want us to come together, continue to contribute, and for our fellow Australians to recognize us, that we're not just parasites here.
Yeah.
Now, look, you are a younger generation of Africans and African Australians. What are your aspirations for the future?
I feel like I'm almost now like an auntie to younger people.
Well, I'm
so I'm like, yes, I'm. I am of a younger generation to you, but then there's other next generation.
Absolutely.
And so it's I feel like my role, always serving as a bridge.
Yes.
I think that's my strength.
Yes.
It's sort of being able to navigate different spaces. And
Yes.
that thing that you're talking about in terms of unifying rather than dividing. I think I think it's really important to acknowledge that there's space and time for communities to gather together.
Yes.
just to bond and to grow together in strength.
Yes.
And there's times also for diverse communities to meet together.
Yes.
Similar to the First Nations communities here, how they have been doing it is there was clans.
Like we have in Africa.
Very similar.
Yes.
Who existed and coexisted with each other. And then there were times of sacred ceremony where multiple clans would then meet. And so I think that there's something really nourishing and very fortifying about that approach. It's finding more points where we can all, as cosmopolitan Australia,
Yes.
come together in celebration and
Yes.
genuinely actually just acknowledging our humanity and coming together to celebrate that, because it's multicultural and it's not going to change. That
No.
I mean, this is what it is now.
Well, Australia
And I
is
think-
the most multicultural country on earth. And I think part of the challenge for us is to educate our fellow Australians about Africa. Many people will not even know that Africa as a continent is made up of more than 56 countries. They think that, we are one huge country. Many Australians may not even know that culturally, economically, socially, there are differences between West Africa, Southern Africa, Eastern
Eastern.
Africa, Central Africa, and also Sub-Saharan Africa and Maghreb, North Africa.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot, to teach our fellow Africans that, yes, we're all Africans, but there are also these differences. But within these differences, we have a common purpose.
Yeah.
And our common purpose is Australia, our adopted country, and how collectively we can work together as Australians to make this country better and better for everybody, those who are here already and those who will come after us.
And that's the thing, right? That's the challenge, is how do you get a melting pot? How do you get cosmopolitan Australia where everyone looks different?
Yes.
It's coming from different histories, different traditions.
Yes.
How do you get people on the same page? And I think that comes from acceptance. We accept that Australia is a multicultural place. And what does that mean? Once we accept that, we genuinely, open-heartedly try to meet each other
Yes.
in that commonality.
Yes.
Is that we all now make up what we call Australia.
Yes.
And then how do we better for who? Better for everybody, not just for one group of people. And that's not just speaking to white Australia, that is speaking to everybody. It's like all cultures, it's like we have to, in order for this place to be what it can be, and it does, it has potential to be an amazing place.
Yes.
And this comes from, for me, this is why decolonization is very important. It's like, how do we find hybrid ways of doing things? How do we learn from each other and go, oh, yeah, actually that way, that approach is actually going to serve and is going to serve everybody. And I think for me, I think before thinking about, I think my own African cultural identity here in Australia, I've got to go back to First Nations people. How are we treating our First Nations people? We've got to understand that their civilization and their way and their approach and learn from those principles first, to find some kind of peace with the history that is gone on here. And before that, we can't heal anything and we can't move forward. I think that for me, that is the starting point.
We are still making, and we will contribute to make our contributions to Australia. And I hope ambassadors like you, will carry this forward, because we need to do it collectively, constructively, and not always blame our adopted country as being the reason things are not working for us. As I said, we're a new community. It's a journey, and we need to always accept our part of the challenge, but also go to authorities and tell them that, hey, we cannot do it alone. We need your help. Accept that help and work constructively to achieve our objective. We want to do our part, but we also rely on the authorities to educate our fellow Australians about the challenges that it's not just Africans, but any new community or communities that come into Australia, and for people to understand, be patient, be compassionate, and work with us, so that we forge and develop this wonderful multicultural society that we all aspire to. I mean, Australia is a reality as a multicultural society, but we can make it better every day through positive contribution.
I think that's the humanizing thing. The more you hear about what everybody has to do, the sacrifices that people are making in order for the next generation to have it easier, I think that's what will bring us together. It's also important to recognize where, and this isn't just Africans, this is everybody.
Absolutely.
Is when you recognize when you need to take a rest,
Yep.
when you need to take care of yourself,
Yes.
and doing all those self-care practices that ensure that you are able to work at your best.
Yep.
I think is important as well, is like, which I know as my parents never really talked about like rest. But I guess maybe that's the privilege of now being, second generation, because it's a long game. It's, to make sure that you're okay. And especially with the economic challenges that we're living in today, like I think it's important for, just to take a walk, go to the beach, go to nature, spend time with family, spend time with friends, doing all the things that holistically make you a full human being, so that you can perform at your best and be the most impactful person that you can be.
I think all of these contributions need to be brought forward and promoted to our fellow Australians, and educate them that, hey, we're no different from, our neighbor. We're all in this journey together.
Yeah, because I think there can be a misconception that we've come here just to relax, to cruise, just to be on the dole and not do anything, which is a huge, huge error and a huge misconception.
Yes.
People are making those small-scale and large-scale impacts every single day, and working for a vision.
Absolutely. And with the youth crime, look, I think one person said to me one day that in many countries, what they have, where crime is high, right, it is not that they have a crime problem in so much as they have an unemployment problem. And I believe that, yes, there are a small section of society that, no matter what you do for them, they will still want to indulge in crime. But I believe that by and large, what every human being aspires to is to have a job that allows them to contribute and contribute to themselves and to their families, have a roof over their head, be able to put food on the table, have the aspirations that every human being has. Be able to take the annual holidays, take the family out and enjoy life. I don't think that intrinsically human beings want to be criminals. Some of our people become criminals simply because I believe that they don't have the opportunities that will allow them to participate effectively in society. And I think these are, as I said, these are areas that I would like to see our community leaders engage effectively with government and say, hey, it's not that we're different. We knew we have challenges, but as I said, we can't do it alone. We need your help, and we need the help of our fellow Australians to walk this journey.
Yeah, and 100%. Like, crime isn't just young African kids committing crime. It's a whole range of young people, and we're like one of my big kind of inspirations is Gabor Mate,
Yes.
who talks a lot about trauma and talks a lot about what is addiction and crime. Is there's a wound there. There's like a core wound, which is usually around not being seen, not feeling valued, not being heard, and not being appreciated. So I think well-being, that's good to see that the government is putting so much, like the state government is putting so much revenue, resources in mental health, because I think that's really important to address.
Yes.
And also, the education system, I think also some young people aren't necessarily geared just towards like learning, not book. That's not the way they learn.
Exactly.
People have different styles.
We also need to educate our own people. I mean, when I was growing up in Ghana, finishing high school and going to university was seen as the ultimate. But I think, in my own family, one of my nephews wanted to be a cleaner, and my sister-in-law was, no. I said to her, please, so long as she does it as a profession, he puts all his energies into it. And so we also need to educate our younger people that university, important as it is not the only avenue or the only route to progress and wealth creation. The trades, I mean, look at Australian. I mean, you call in a tradesperson, and the call fee alone, it's almost unaffordable. So, we also need to accept that we've come to a new culture. There are different ways of doing things, and that sticking to how we used to do it back at home is not always the right approach. So we also need our own education, and hopefully, through projects like this, we'll be able to educate our own people also to accept that, hey, we are in a new culture, we're a new country. And so we need to adopt some of the good aspects of our new country.
Well, that's a positive thing. Like my parents didn't want me to be an artist at all. They wanted me to be a lawyer. That's what I had wanted to do when I was at university. And then I did law for, I think, a little bit, but then I just felt it wasn't the avenue that I wanted to make impact. And that took a long time for my parents to understand that you can have a career in the arts, and it's not something that, you actually need to work and really need to focus to master your craft. It takes a lot of hours, and it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of discipline. Yeah. And it's really nice to see now, like my nieces and nephews who look, looking at what I'm doing and also following that that pathway as a career choice. Whereas when I grew up, that wasn't really a thing. So I think there is progress there. Yes. And it's exciting. I think, diversity of career paths. There's nothing wrong with being a hairdresser or makeup artist or whatever it is that your passion is. Yeah,
society needs those things also. You know, it's not as if, the things that are not needed. But the thing is, going back to your parents' generation, I always ask my fellow migrants, what motivated you to come to Australia? And for me, I say, it's Australia's values. And what are Australia's values? Respect for one another, respect for women, respect for rule of law, democracy, the ability to realize your full potential, with all the opportunities that Australia offers. So now that I'm here, I don't feel that it is my responsibility to then say to Australia, hey, I'm here, I want to change society. Yes, we want to change society, but we want to change society in a way that blends with Australia's core values, because these, in my view, it is these core values that make Australia, and we need to continue to build on it. And so, I mean, your parents, I think what would have influenced them was that they were coming to Australia with the determination or the hope that they're going to give you and your siblings a better future. And because of the background from where they've come, they inevitably will see education as the main pathway. And for them, education is not just finishing high school, but also going to university. But I'm glad that, you, the younger generations, you're teaching us that, we need to give you the freedom. We need to give you, the agency for you to craft your own pathway, because, we think that as parents we know better. But, hey, we've brought you into this world, but we've given you certain values that hopefully will guide you to craft your own pathways and continue to be useful contributors to society.
I agree. I think intergenerational, I call it intergenerational learning.
Yes.
And trust in each other is really important, not just as Africans, across the board. And I think, I learned so much from next generation, the generation that has come after me.
Yes.
They're teaching me all the time about so many things, because they have grown up in a digital age where I know what it is not to have a computer or a phone, but they don't know what that is. So they have so much information, and the level that I can talk with them, they're so smart in that way and so intelligent in that way, and their ideas and what they think about is incredible.
Yes.
So I have to give them their flowers for that.
Yes.
And I have to be humble and be like, there are things that I don't know that you're teaching me.
Yes.
Vice versa with my parents. There are things that I don't know that they're teaching me.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful, lateral way of learning.
Tariro, thank you for coming on this journey with me.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, pleasure talking to you too.